Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Spring 2020 University Faculty Meeting. I've never held a university-wide faculty meeting in this forum, so we will see how this goes. I was just warning Sandy Smith Andrews and the president that I have lost electricity at my house twice today. So all my fingers are crossed that everything goes smoothly today for the university faculty meeting. On the agenda, we have an update on faculty awards and retirees, but I'm going to put that inside my provost updates. And so really the plan for today is for Sandy Smith Andrews to give you an update as your Faculty Senate President, and then we'll pass the baton to me to give you an update from the provost office, and then we'll pass an update to pass the baton to President Oldham to give an update to you from the president's office. So with that in mind, I am going to very quickly hand the baton off to Sandy Smith Andrews.
Hello, everyone. I, like Dr. Bruce, have never done this either. I've run Senate meetings, but we're all looking at each other, and streaming's a little bit different. So I'd like to start my part with thanking you for allowing me to serve you as Faculty Senate President this year. To say I learned is an understatement. I learned so much. It has been a great year for Faculty Senate and a wonderful year for shared governance. The Faculty Senate met 10 times for business meetings and 8 times for our one-on-one with the president. All of our proceedings are published on our website, both as minutes from the business meetings and notes from the meetings with the president. If you want to know what we've been up to this year, please check it out. I'd like to share just a few highlights from this year. We met with the Board of Trustees on numerous occasions and had fruitful conversations. We had input into several endeavors that were launched or finally approved now, but launched in the fall, including the flat rate tuition model, streamlining the mandatory fees, lowering the out-of-state tuition, updating IP policies. When it came to spring, this was brand new for all of us. COVID-19 response, everything the university did, they involved shared governance, and I was super proud to be a part of it. The Faculty Senate President serves on the University Senate, the University President Senate's cabinet. Also, we had representation on the COVID-19 task force and the current steering committee that is working on scaling us back up to normal so we can welcome students in the fall. Dr. Oldham will tell you a lot more about that later. We co-sponsored some of the student accommodations with Dr. Brandon Johnson. We co-sponsored a lot of the faculty accommodations with Dr. Bruce. I'd like to mention a little bit about elections. Elections for Faculty Senate are on a 3-year rotating basis. There are several spots available this spring. So if you have an email that asks you to either vote or volunteer, please run for a spot. If you don't want to run for a spot, please vote, participate in the process. We need you, and let your voice be heard. I'd like to express thanks to Dr. Troy Smith. He is the immediate past president. He served as my mentor this year, and I couldn't have done it without him. Second, a special thanks goes out to our Faculty Senate Secretary, Holly Mills. She's from the library. And now the famous part of the end of the year faculty meeting is to be able to hand off the gavel. If we'd been really crafty, I'd have had one to hand off, and then Dr. Stretz could have handed it on her end, but we didn't think about that ahead of time. So I'd like to welcome the incoming president for Faculty Senate, Dr. Holly Stretz. She's a professor in chemical engineering. Holly, would you like to say a few words?
Hi. Oh, Sandy. So this is new for me too. So Sandy's used to high tech, and yeah, engineers should be. Yes. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say, man, it's been an honor to serve as the president-elect with Sandy. She's been helping us through a difficult year. Very, very, it's wonderful because we have a really nice system of shared governance here at Tennessee Tech. I just wanted to encourage everybody, just a few things. Please visit the Faculty Senate website. So just go into the Tennessee Tech University website and write into the search engine Faculty Senate. You'll find our website. There's two big things you should probably know there. One is you can find out who your senator is. You can call any senator, but you might want to talk to somebody who's from your college, who would have a lot in common with you. But any of us will talk to you. We're really people. And hear your comments, questions, concerns. Our job is to reflect your voice at the highest levels of governance at this university and the highest levels of management. And then second, there's actually a little spot on the website where you can send in suggestions, questions, comments. We answer all of those. Many of them we reflect back personally. So please go look at the Faculty Senate website. And as Sandy mentioned, there's all of our minutes are there and you can see what we've been up to. So I'm looking forward to a great year next year and the transition back to normalcy. Sandy, thank you. Handing it back to you.
Perfect. I just didn't know if I was muted or not. The next one I'd like to introduce is Dr. Jeanette Wallach. She's an associate professor in earth sciences, and she will be the president-elect this year. She also serves on parliamentarian for the Faculty Senate. Jeanette?
Hi, Sandy, and hi, everybody. This is a new venue. I think I'm enjoying it. So I just want to echo the same things that Sandy has said about participation and shared governance. I think on the news lately, one of the key terms is all about the new normal. And so the next few years in Senate, we will get to define, what is the new normal for Tennessee Tech. And so if you're sitting at home or sitting in your office and you're watching this and you're on the fence about participation and shared governance and serving, I know it's hard to sign up for another committee. It's always hard for us to find the time to do this. But I think there's never been a more important time to consider serving in Faculty Senate. So we will have a call for nominations that comes out in the next few days for at-large members. So we have representation from all of the different colleges, but if you weren't nominated through that process, then certainly self-nominate, don't be shy, right? To help us in the next few years see what our new normal is going to look like. Thank you, Sandy.
That was perfect. Make sure I'm unmuted. That was perfect. That leads us to a brand new senator this year. This was her first year, Dr. Chris Craven. She is an associate professor in basic engineering. She has agreed to be our new secretary this year. So I want to thank her in advance, and I want to thank everyone. It has been an amazing ride, and I have loved every minute of it. I'll hand it over to Dr. Bruce.
So I just want to echo what everyone else said about participating in shared governance and participating in academic council, administrative council, faculty senate. And I want to say thank you to Sandy. Dr. Smith Andrews has really represented you very well as your faculty senate president. She has done an excellent job of looking over the horizon at what are the issues that are facing faculty, not just at Tennessee Tech, but nationally, and making sure we're kind of on point to address those issues. So thank you very much, Sandy, for an excellent year. So I'm going to just jump right in with my updates, and it's going to be a little bit of looking back and a little bit of looking forward. I want to say that as provost, I just really want to convey how proud I am of each and every faculty member, how much you have overcome and accomplished during the last few months. I've never been more proud to serve you as your provost. While it's been an incredibly challenging time, it has also been a time of great strength and growth. And when each of us look back on this time, I really want us to remember how we were able to adapt and thrive in a world that sometimes was changing every minute. There were times this semester I'd be writing an email, and by the time I got to the end, the situation had changed. scrap that email and start over. And so I'm just been so impressed with the way the faculty have adapted and shown resilience during this time, and really have always put the students first. And that has really stood out. You know, the most obvious impact of COVID-19 on us as faculty has been that sudden conversion of all of our courses to online delivery. You know, we had about a 2-week period between March 14th and March 30th. And I cannot believe how many people I saw spring into action and just make sure that our students' academic needs were being met. Many of you as faculty are probably aware of the task forces and think tanks that we put in place. I just want to highlight a few of them in case you're not aware, or to maybe jog your memory. We had an online instruction task force that really looked at both technical and pedagogical best practices. And I really want to give a shout out to Yvette Clark, Director of ITS, and Dr. Bedelia Russell, Professor in Nursing, as Director of CITL. They managed to get 100% of our 3,200 courses moved online, and 96% of all our faculty, that's full-time, part-time, adjuncts, everyone, 96% trained in online delivery modalities. We had a faculty power user group. I like calling them a power user group. It was approximately 25 faculty who have a lot of history and experience in online technologies. And they really stepped up and led in training and doing peer-to-peer training and support of faculty during the transition. We had an online tutoring committee or task force, and that was chaired by Sharon Holderman in the library. We had an academic advising task force that was chaired by Simone McKelvey in enrollment management. We had a think tank chaired by Holly Stretz, professor of chemical engineering, who chaired a think tank on how do we deal with hands-on laboratories? You know, what do we do to get our chemistry labs or chemical engineering labs in place to be online? And then we had a few groups working on FAQs to try to keep everyone informed. And so we had a faculty FAQ that was led by Tracy Black, and a student FAQ that was led by Dr. Alice Camuti. And so we had a lot of, all of you really stepped up and kind of volunteered to work on all these groups to try to get all the infrastructure in place. And I just can't thank you enough for that. A little bit later in my updates, I'll give you a few more comments on a couple of new task force or think tanks. You know, but of course the lion's share of all of the work to get these courses online is continuing today by the faculty. You know, the lion's share of that effort is by the faculty, and you've accomplished something that I quite literally thought was impossible. I mean, if someone had asked me in January, could you convert every course to online at Tennessee Tech? I would have said, no way. But you did it. You converted every course to online, and you did it with such resilience and smoothness. And we've heard so much positivity back from the students. I hope you got a chance to see some of the testimonials and quotes that the students we've received that were kind of on the screen at the beginning before we started the meeting. You know, the feedback that we have gotten from the students has been 99+% positive. You know, we all hit bumps in the road and there's hiccups, but I can honestly say 99+% of the feedback we've gotten from the students has been overwhelmingly positive. At the beginning of the situation, I expressed to the deans the need to adhere to 2 fundamental approaches to all our decisions and actions. And those 2 fundamental approaches was compassion and common sense. And when I've heard back from the students, I can honestly say that's been echoed by the faculty. What I've heard in the way you've approached the students during this time, it's been a mixture of compassion and common sense. And a lot of that positive feedback that we've gotten from the students has been more about your personal care of them, your care about their personal and professional well-being as much as the content of a course. And I think many people will tell you when you go through something and you look back, you don't remember what people said, but you remember how you felt. And those students feel cared for. And so that's an amazing thing for the faculty to achieve. You know, the fact that we've come out of this with joy for educating students is remarkable. And I just thought it was very fitting at this time to recognize some of the faculty members that have been selected for university-wide awards this spring. We normally have a nice reception to honor the faculty with nice hors d'oeuvres and good camaraderie. Obviously, we've postponed that to later in the fall, but I really want to encourage you, when you start seeing emails about the reception, attend that reception. See your peers be recognized for these university level awards. And at that time, I'll be more able, the president and I both will be more able to kind of explain what some of the awards mean, the history of the awards, and give some testimonials as to why these faculty are getting these awards. But for this meeting, I just want to publicly recognize the faculty and kind of read out the award and then the name of the faculty member who got that award. And since we don't have a reception, send a note to these people, congratulate them via email on these awards. So there's an award for excellence in first year instruction. And that was, the recipient of that award is Mr. Michael Clark, who's an adjunct faculty member in the Honors College. We also have a university-wide award for general education, award for outstanding teaching. And the two winners of that award is Kevin K. Bevan Butler, who's an adjunct instructor in art, craft, and design, and Dr. Richard Perkle, who's a senior instructor in biology. We have a university-wide award for excellence in creative inquiry mentoring. And that award goes to two individuals, Dr. Tanya Dada, who's an associate professor in civil and environmental engineering, and Dr. Nikki Panter, who's a lecturer in biology. We have a university-wide award for excellence in creative inquiry instruction. And that award goes to three individuals, Dr. Ted Pelton, who's a professor in English, Dr. Helen Hunt, who's an assistant professor in English, and Dr. Lauren Michael, who's an assistant professor in earth sciences. We have a university-wide award for scholar mentor, and that goes to Dr. Kristen Dieter, associate professor in English, and Dr. Jennifer Meadows, who's an assistant professor in curriculum instruction. We have an award for Scholastic Research Award, and that goes to two individuals this year. Dr. Shelley Marissy, who's an assistant professor in decision sciences and management, and Dr. Janet Isbell, who's an associate professor in teacher education. And then there's a university-wide award that's called the Outstanding Faculty Award for Professional Service. And that goes this year to Dr. Helen Hunt, assistant professor in English. We have a university-wide award for outstanding, it's an outstanding faculty award in teaching. And that goes this year to two individuals, Dr. Melissa Geist, professor in nursing, and Dr. Adam Hawley, associate professor in physics. And then finally, we have something called the Kapliner Award. That is for outstanding research of all faculty on campus. And that goes to Dr. Ishmael Fadan, professor in manufacturing, engineering, and technology. I also at this point want to recognize the faculty who've announced they are retiring at the end of this academic year. And I'll be honest, I worried we'd have mass exodus after this spring. Anyone eligible for retirement would take it. I'm so glad we have not seen that. We have about the same number of retirees we had last year, but these retirees include Dr. Charles Carnall, who's a professor of electrical and computer engineering. He has been a faculty member at Tennessee Tech for 38 years. Dr. Helen Dainty, who's a professor of curriculum instruction. She's been a faculty member for 18 years. Ward Dubett, who's a professor of art, craft, and design. He's been a professor for 30 years. Dr. Ahmed El-Salway, who's a professor of manufacturing, engineering, and technology. He's been a professor at Tennessee Tech for 21 years. Dr. Laura Graves, professor of curriculum instruction. She's been a faculty member at Tech for 15 years. Dr. Laura Malone, assistant professor in counseling and psychology. She's been a faculty member at Tennessee Tech for 20 years. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Christine Miller, professor of decision sciences and management, who's been a professor here at Tech for 27 years. So these 7 individuals have 170 years of combined service as faculty members. Normally at this time, I'd have everybody stand up, we'd give them a big round of applause. But this year we're not able to do that. So please send them an email. If you know one of these individuals, send them an email with warm congratulations and a special thanks to them for the years of service that they've had for our students. Next, I want to give an update on Academic and Administrative Council very briefly. So this semester, even though we've had a lot of disruption in telecommuting, both the Academic and Administrative Council have forged on with the mission of shared governance. I want to recognize Dr. Jeanette Wallach, who from the Department of Earth Sciences. She chaired the Administrative Council this year. And Dr. Linda Knoll from the Department of English, she chaired Academic Council. These councils have been hard at work approving the establishment of new student organizations, approving updates to policies, approving changes to our curricula, and the like. In an effort to keep all the faculty fully informed on these matters, I've included a copy of their fall and spring reports on the website dedicated to this faculty meeting. Now, these reports are always on the provost website, but I wonder sometimes how much people dig around down in there and find those reports. So in order to know really what all's been happening in those councils, I really encourage you to go read those summary reports. They're not too long, and they give you an idea of all the different minors and just all the different policies and curricular changes that have been going on during this year. So just for your convenience, there should be a link to those on the website dedicated to this meeting. So the next topic is academic accommodations. So even with all the positive strides that we've made during these challenging times, there has been a need to offer some academic accommodations. And so going back to my original comments about compassion and common sense, it's important for us to offer accommodations to our students, but also have compassion for ourselves as faculty. And so I want to just highlight some of the accommodations that have been approved and offered to both students and faculty this semester. So we offered a pass-fail option to students. We have a committee that is implementing that. After their grades are posted, they'll be able to look and see and then get counseling from their Student Success Center and from financial aid to make a wise decision on whether or not to opt into their pass-fail option. We've offered an extension of the deadline for drop-in courses to students. We've suspended academic suspension. So basically, any student whose GPA would put them into suspension this spring or fall, we have temporarily eliminated that. So they will not go into suspension this spring or fall. We've offered a waiver of graduate school entrance exams, an extension of graduate school application deadlines. We've waived online fees for Tennessee Tech students during this semester, during the summer semester. I've issued a letter to each faculty member documenting the disruptions and major changes. I work very closely with the Faculty Senate President on that. And that's really just a letter. We think we'll never forget this semester. We think that this will be burned in our brain, and it probably will. But in future years, you never know what's going to happen when you're submitting something for an award or a promotion. It's important to be able to have that documentation for future years. And then finally, the university is offering to each of the current tenure track faculty, so someone who's tenure track this semester but hasn't yet applied for tenure, a one-year extension of their probationary pre-tenure period. For example, if a faculty member normally would go up for tenure during their 5th or 6th year, now they can go up their 5th, 6th, or 7th year. And so it's not mandatory by any means. It's purely the choice of the faculty member. But a faculty member might look back years from now and see that they lost momentum in their research or their teaching or their service. And so they may want an extra year to build those accomplishments for their dossier. I suspect most faculty will go up at their normal time, but I want that option to be there for the faculty who need it and want it. And so that's something that we're offering to the pre-tenure faculty. And again, I work closely with Faculty Senate President on establishing that. So finally, President Odom will most likely provide insights into how we're going to move forward over the summer and the fall. But before handing the baton off to him, I want to address a couple of practical matters related to course delivery this summer and fall. There's many matters to address, but there's kind of two that definitely stand out to me. One is, how do we deal with hybrid courses? What does it mean to be hybrid? You know, how much face-to-face do you need or not need to be hybrid? And what do we do with courses that are very large enrollments? And so we're establishing two committees or task forces, one to make recommendations on how to deal with hybrid courses, and one to make recommendations on how to deal with high enrollment sections of courses. These two groups will have a lot of faculty representation, but their main goal is to make recommendations on how to handle these issues so that we can maximize face-to-face courses, we can get back to some sense of normalcy, but we can also avoid overcrowding in the classroom and maintain safe level of social distancing. And that's really what those two task forces' main goal is, to make recommendations so we can move forward and maintain those two standards. So again, I want to thank you. You've accomplished what I would have thought an impossible task this semester as faculty, and you have maintained positivity and resilience in doing so. And this institution cannot thank you enough for that. So I will now hand off the baton over to President Oldham. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Provost Bruce, and thank you for letting me join all of you today, albeit in a mechanism that we'd prefer not to have to utilize, but thankful that we can. Let me add my thanks and congratulations to Sandy for an excellent year leading the Faculty Senate. She did represent all of you extremely well, and I really appreciated her input. Some of you know, many of you probably don't, the Faculty Senate President also sits on the President's Cabinet. And so in that capacity, Sandy's had a lot of that are being considered at the very highest level, and she's always expressed faculty input very eloquently. And so thank you, Sandy, for that. I also want to welcome Holly and Jeanette and Chris. Look forward to working with you all in this next year or two, and as we address some unexpected challenges, no doubt. But it's also exciting times, and I have no doubt we'll continue the great relationship. So thanks to all of you. I also want to add my congratulations to all the faculty awardees that have just been listed. That's no small task on your part to be recognized by your peers for the work that you've done, you know, the degree of excellence that you put into your efforts here on campus. Thank you for helping us all become better than we would be otherwise. Thank you for raising the expectations for what it means to be a faculty member at Tennessee Tech. So congratulations to all of you, and to all the retirees. Thank you. Thank you for dedicating your career and your life's passion to Tennessee Tech. You have been what makes Tennessee Tech what it is today, and your legacy will certainly live on. And we hope that it will continue to make you proud as we go on into the future, and to be able to look back and realize that you had a lot to do with helping make that happen. So congratulations, and we certainly wish you well, and hope we have a chance to do that in person in the not too distant future. So, you know, a few words come to my mind that we've all probably grown tired of hearing in the last few weeks, and words like surreal, unprecedented, unexpected, complex, unpredictable. You know, you can make your own list of adjectives that have been thrown around pretty loosely. It's all true. Every one of them is valid. But I think there are a couple things that we have learned that are pretty certain at this point, despite the fact that we're still dealing with a lot of unpredictability. One of which is that this campus, all of you have proven to yourselves and to everybody else that we can do it. We can address challenges, as unexpected and daunting as they may be, and actually be successful. And as Provost Bruce indicated, tremendous credit goes to the entire faculty and a lot of support staff as well, who made this possible, that actually in the middle of a semester were able to successfully pivot and put courses online. Some of you have been doing this as part of your normal work on a regular basis. And so for some of you, it may not have been that challenging. Others, it was a totally new experience, and you've done it exceptionally well. Congratulations and thank you. Thank you on behalf of the university, but particularly thank you on behalf of the students of Tennessee Tech that you serve. And as the provost indicated, the feedback that has been received is just overwhelmingly positive because of your attitude, your approach, and your absolute willingness to always put students first. So thank you for all that you've done and all that you continue to do. The other thing that I think we have learned, which is also very reassuring, is that students, despite all the talk over the last several years about online education and how it could take over the traditional educational experience, we know now that students prefer to have face-to-face whenever possible because they want to interact with you. They want a personal relationship with a faculty member. Now, it doesn't mean that online instruction doesn't have its place. It does, and we need to do more of it. And I'm glad to know that at this point in time, we've proven that we can do this and we can actually do it very well. And so we won't diminish our efforts to provide more online opportunities for students as needed. But for those of you that may be a little wary about that taking over the world, it's not going to, not anytime soon anyway, because students want an on-campus experience, and Tennessee Tech is really good at that. So our goal right now, looking forward, is to have students back on campus, as soon as possible. And that means when we can do it safely, and when we can do it in a way that provides sufficient confidence and assurance to everybody concerned, faculty, staff, and students, that we can provide a safe environment in order to operate. But don't be mistaken, our goal is to have students back on this campus. And right now, all of our planning is to make that happen by this fall. So I'll get into a little bit more of that in a few minutes. But let me tell you now, let me give you some updates on where we have been maybe recently and where we're going then at the end. Also want to give a lot of congratulations to a number of faculty and staff who really went above and beyond to create opportunities to actually provide protective equipment to state and local providers, first responders, health professionals, others that need it. And this was in the form of face shields. So this group has provided close to 2,000 face shields for individuals around the state of Tennessee, and a lot of them here locally to the Cookeville Regional Medical Center, to our own health center, to first responders here in the Upper Cumberland, as well as to the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency. I'm going to list a few names. I'll probably leave some out, and I apologize for that. But I would especially like to recognize Michael Akins, Jared Holm, Dean Slater, Dr. Vahid Matavali, as well as a number of faculty, Jim Baer in agriculture, Michael Allen in math, and Ishmael Fadan in MET. They've all done really an exceptional job at being able to do that. And then they did this totally voluntary on their part. So please, if you see any of those or have an opportunity to congratulate and thank them, please do so. It's another way that we've been able to show our level of innovation on this campus, our creativity, and most importantly, our willingness to really make a difference and to help those around us. So a lot of thanks and praise to everybody involved there. So for those of you that haven't been on campus recently, let me just assure you that we're continuing to operate campus, albeit with a very small subset of the total employees. We're operating now with about 10% of the normal staffing on campus on a daily basis. There are functions that have to be done, and facilities people in particular, facility staff have been involved in that. We've put them on a rotation so that we limit how many are on campus at any given time. But those that are operating on campus are doing so safely, practicing appropriate distancing and doing everything possible to keep everybody safe through this time period. We do continue to provide services to a few dozen students who were unable or for a variety of reasons didn't find it practical to leave campus when we shut down most of the dorms. So we continue to provide some food services support and resident hall support for those students. So a number of staff are still involved in those as well. Most of you probably realize that we have postponed commencement officially. We're in planning stages now to see if we can reschedule that for a later date, hopefully toward the end of summer. Obviously, that's contingent upon the conditions at that time and whether we're able to have larger groups assemble safely at that time. So we're getting input from students, from graduating students, to get some ideas about what they would like to see and what options we might have. We hope to be able to make an announcement, probably still about a month away, but we hope to be able to make an announcement late May, early June about what those plans might be. We know that many of you in departments and colleges are planning virtual events to help celebrate commencement, graduation with these students. And I really commend you for that, taking that initiative, making an effort to make this a special time for those students despite the current conditions. We're also planning, Karen Likens and her staff in the Office of Communication and Marketing are also putting together a special video presentation to commemorate this time for these graduates that will be released on May 9th, which was the original scheduled time for commencement, with some special surprises in there for the graduating students. They've also collected a lot of comments and photos, hopefully highlight some memories that these students would cherish of their time at Tennessee Tech. So we're trying to do whatever possible to make up for the loss of commencement, and hopefully we'll be able to have a postponed commencement later in the summer. Recruiting and planning for the fall semester continues. Recruiting obviously is not so much face-to-face and in person, but it's much more virtual, as you would expect. We continue to reach out to prospective students through phone calls, emails, social media, and we're providing virtual tours of the campus at this time as well. So students, future students that are otherwise would be visiting campus, they have an opportunity to take a virtual tour, and then hopefully at a later date, they'll be able to come in person. Enrollment outlook for the summer term actually is running pretty well. We're slightly ahead of student enrollment for summer school as compared to last summer currently. Fall registration of continuing students is a little bit down, and I think we can assume that that's largely because of students not being on campus currently, not having the constant reminders to get registered, and I'm sure some anxiety on some parts about am I going to be able to continue my education in the fall or not based on the current situation. We're reaching out to these students in multiple ways, but quite honestly, you as faculty member probably have as much or more influence on many of these students as any of us would. So I would encourage each of you, as you have advisees or other students that you've helped along the way that should be continuing in the fall, if you have an opportunity to reach out to them and give a personal encouragement, I think that would go a long way. So if we can help you with that, please let us know. A couple of updates in the area of research on campus. Actually, research activities have continued quite successfully throughout this time period. We announced last year that it was a record year for research awards on campus, exceeding $20 million for the first time. Based on the current situation, you would expect us to be down because we've had to redirect so much effort into other areas of the campus. But actually, we're approaching $19 million for this fiscal year in research awards already, with still a couple months left to go. So that's really moving in a good shape, and that's to your credit as well. The proposal pressure, the proposals that faculty continues to submit. My understanding is that the success rate of those proposals has increased quite a bit this year. So that also means that you're learning, you're getting better at submitting successful proposals, and it's the hard work. Those of you that do it know what I'm talking about. There's no magic to it. It's just a lot of hard work. And so congratulations to all of you that are putting in that effort to make that possible. I'm also happy to announce that we've been approved. The board recently approved the appointment of our new Vice President for Research, Dr. Jennifer Taylor. She will be joining us around August 1st. And Jennifer will be coming to us from the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville, where she's been for the last, I believe, 8 years as a assistant vice chancellor for research. She has a bachelor's degree from University of Kentucky and a PhD from University of Missouri, Kansas City. I think all of you will enjoy working with Jennifer, and she's anxious to get here. I want to thank Dr. Bruce for chairing that search committee, and everybody that was on that search committee. They did a wonderful job attracting and screening, interviewing some really good candidates. So congratulations. If you'd been talking to me about 2 months ago about budget, I would have been extremely excited because we were in an extremely strong position budget-wise looking forward into next year. We were the second highest performing among the 9 undergraduate institutions in the state in terms of the funding formula. And so we were getting a larger share of state funding. The enrollment picture was looking good. Everything was really moving in a very positive direction. As of right now, it still looks pretty good, quite honestly. The governor came back and has pulled a little bit of funding. We were getting delayed on our engineering building, but that's not of great concern because we have already been awarded sufficient money to continue the planning process. And that would go through this next year anyway. So I'm still very optimistic about that. That should stay pretty much on schedule, I believe. So as of right now, we're still in pretty good shape. But the unpredictable nature of the environment we're in right now really ensures that we have to be cautious and we have to take everything very carefully. And so we're approaching our budget situation with that in mind. And we will continue to do that at least until we get a little more certainty. But we are excited. I'm excited that we were in a relatively strong position to begin with, and we were in a good position to weather this current storm. But we just want to make sure we're prepared for any future storms that we can't see coming right now. So we continue to look for fall. Now, one thing that we've been working with, most of you are aware that the United States Congress passed just maybe 3 weeks ago now, the CARES Act, it's commonly referred to. Out of the CARES Act funding for Tennessee Tech, we have been appropriated $8.7 million. You need to know, however, most of that is earmarked for specific purposes. Half of those dollars, so approximately $4.4 million, will go directly to student support. It goes, and that's by congressional intent and action. So we're obligated to send out about $4.4 million to those students based on demonstrated need of students as impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. So we're in the process now of making sure we clearly understand the guidance from the U.S. Department of Education in terms of distributing those dollars. We're pretty far along in that. We need just a little bit further clarification when we hope to be pushing those dollars out into those student accounts next week. In addition to that $4.4 million, however, we have also refunded to students' accounts approximately $3.3 million of unused housing fees and meal plan expenses. So in total, $7.7 million is being placed into the hands and direct pockets of students. And those housing and meal plan refunds have already taken place. We've already refunded those dollars to the students to help them through this difficult time, because we know many of them have incurred, in some cases, significant additional expenses as well. So we're happy to do that. And we just want to make sure we transfer the rest of these dollars appropriately. The other half of the CARES Act funding, approximately $4.3 million, can be used to help fund activities on campus that additional costs basically that the campus has assumed through the pandemic response. And so all the expenses related to additional bandwidth or additional technology support, software licenses, as well as the housing and meal plan refunds can be supported through those dollars. And so we're thankful that we have those dollars to be able to make sure we continue to be in a strong financial position with the current situation. So that's kind of an overview of where we are right now and what we've recently come through. Let's talk for just a few minutes about scaling things back up. I'm hesitant to say reopening the campus because we've never really closed, not completely. And even though the campus level of activity on campus has been diminished, we know that a substantial amount of activity has continued on, albeit through meetings like this on Zoom or other means. And so the activity hasn't stopped at all. In fact, there may be more activity than ever right now, but it's not as obvious, it's not as visible. So how do we get people back on campus, and what's the plan? And so we're actively working on a plan. We have that in draft form now. We continue to revise and update that. We find that we need more information or need some additional expertise in some areas. We hope our plan is to be able to lay out that more detailed plan to the campus by mid-May. We don't expect to be bringing employees or students onto campus until at least the end of May. So we want to give everybody at least a couple of weeks to sort of see the plan, digest it, ask questions, and go from there. Obviously, there's so many uncontrolled variables here that are really outside of our control to a large extent, but we're trying to get as much clarity and as much control as possible. Some of you will be glad to know that as a university campus, even though we are a state entity, we certainly are owned and operated by the state of Tennessee, but the governor and others have given us tremendous amount of autonomy to develop our own plan and come up with our own approach to phasing operations back into place. But again, our goal, our effort is all directed toward having students and faculty back on campus in a relatively normal, albeit modified fashion in August. So that's the way this plan is being directed, and that's the way we're laying this out. And you'll get to see more of that in 2 or 3 weeks. So we want to continue to follow state and federal guidance on all this. We want to listen to people that are expert in these areas and use that to help guide our decisions here locally. I'm using the President's Cabinet as a steering committee to make sure that all bases are covered in this plan. We're also in the process of standing up 4 specific work groups in the areas of housing, classroom utilization, screening and protocol, and disinfecting, cleaning, and supply chain issues on campus to make sure we can get access to all the materials that we would need to make sure that everybody stays safe and healthy. So we'll be standing up those work groups, and those work groups over the next couple of weeks will help complete this plan, and we'll be able to give more details to you at that time. So we do expect a phased reintroduction of non-faculty staff back to campus, probably beginning right after Memorial Day, around May 26th. And that phased reintroduction will likely take through the entire month of June. So we're going to do this very incrementally. We're going to take it in stages, and we're going to do a lot of evaluating and testing as we go to make sure that everything stays on track. We will make allowances. In fact, we'll expect allowances to be made for any individuals, any employees that would be in high risk groups to make sure that they're safe and secure. We will encourage individuals to work remotely as much as possible, particularly in the early stages of this reintroduction. And we also want to make sure that employees on campus are fully informed about their opportunities and rights through the expanded sick leave opportunities that Congress recently passed as well. We have no events, no major events scheduled through the months of May or June on campus. So this gives us May and June to really take our time, bring things back up online, and do it in a very controlled way. We intend and hope to be able to have summer orientation sessions, source sessions for incoming freshmen during the months of July and August. And if everything goes well up until that point in time, that will give us an opportunity then to test out some of these modifications that we've made in the early part of the summer to ensure that they're working properly as well. But again, and I'll sort of close with this, our goal is to have everybody back on campus safely in the fall semester. And all of our efforts are directed in that way. We will have contingency plans. We will have redundancy in this plan. We'll look at all of the other options and possibilities because the one thing we also have learned is that you've got to be prepared for about anything right now. And so we'll try to build as much of that into this plan as possible. But our goal is to have students on campus in the fall. So I'll stop there. Again, let me end with thanking all of you faculty members for just an outstanding job, an outstanding year, and a great credit to you and your expertise and your passion for students. It's a proud thing to work at Tennessee Tech, and thank you for all that you do. And I encourage all of us to just keep our wings up. Thank you. Tennessee.